I have a question.
Sure.
Really like this one. Like, how do you fire a volunteer? So you get a bad apple, and I'm wildly curious about the bad apples because I've never had an experience with one, but it's
Oh,
really wild. How do you fire one?
yeah. And this is the unfortunate thing that you're like, how do you fire a volunteer? Um, it's rough when you have to do it. I've had to dismiss volunteers because of failed criminal background checks that came to light later, um, misbehavior at events. Um, so let's just walk it through isoture. First of all, with the identification and selection process, hopefully at that point you can find out what's motivating them to be part of the program. So any kind of really awkward removal can just be prevented at that point. At the orientation and training, this is another really good opportunity to see if somebody's a fit. Um, and just say, this isn't going to work out for you. I think your skills will be better elsewhere. So that's a good way to the good place to remove a volunteer. When you get to the utilization and evaluation or coaching piece, having those position descriptions to fall back on and point out, hey, you did this thing. That's not in the position description, and you've done this repeatedly. That could be by pointing back to like in writing and saying, you signed this policy that said you understood what to do and you did not do it that way. And maybe the first time's a warning, depends on how egregious it is, but point back to the position descriptions or any kind of volunteer behavior agreement and point out it's like you are not fulfilling what you agreed to. And on those grounds, dismissal becomes easier because you can point to something that they've agreed to or been trained in and say, you're not doing it the way you were trained. There is no due process with volunteers in most states. So they don't have the rights that employees do, it's like at will termination or at will work. So it is difficult, it is awkward, but when you have all those steps in place and are able to point back to something to say that's what they agreed to do, it it makes it easier. It's still awkward, it's still rough. You find your own coping mechanisms for dealing with it afterwards, but having all that paper trail in place helps you with the dismissal of a volunteer.